day off, but only one day. Yeah, just kidding. So, as is our normal process, the first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. And once again, it's on. Can you page on? I know what it works in.
I think we remember.
There's a flag behind you.
Yeah. I think we remember. There we
There we
go.
go.
I just like to have a flag in two places. All right. All right, let's do. Oh, I gotta get close to the speaker.
I pledge allegiance
I pledge
To the
allegiance
flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, so if you would page down there. So our agenda for today includes a presentation from our mayor, Louis MacArthur, a update on Fisherman's Wharf from Axel, a harbor update with Michael Tripp, a harbor water quality update with Chuck Carter, and then a Cinc request from Richard Elzinga, as well as Debbie, I think, and maybe Renee, if she gets here, do something regarding the real guppy, one of the special things we do for the youth around the community here. So the first speaker is the mayor. He's a local Oxnardian, I think that's the right way to say it. He was on the police department for, I think, 25 or 30 years. Went to school USC, and we're lucky enough to have him as our new mayor. He's been on the job about, not quite 5 or 6 months. So please join me in welcoming our mayor.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Just comment that he and I are wearing the same shirt. We need to compare brands. I'm just kidding. Well, certainly it's my privilege and my honor to be here to speak with all of you. I'm really excited to be in this role as the city's mayor. It's something that I strived to get into. Those that have known me have known that. I'm a native of Oxnard. I attended the local schools here. I'm a product of the public school system. I went to Fred Williams Elementary and would go to Blackstock Junior High School and graduate from Channellands High School. I spent my entire career with the Oxnard Police Department. I started there at 15 years old. And so I spent a total of 35 years there. When I became of age, when I graduated from high school, I became a traffic cadet. Those are the folks in uniforms that you see driving around the pickup trucks. My role was to support officers during checkpoints and tow away cars that have been abandoned or left in neighborhoods where they're not moving, and help out in traffic collisions. And when I turned of age to be a police officer, I became one. And I remained with the police department and retired in December of 2024 as a police commander. In the hierarchy of our organization, as you have the police chief, and then below that you've got commanders, and then you've got sergeants, and then corporals, much like Corporal Adair, who's back there as well. So being in the police department, I work really close with our elected officials. And being a police officer and eventually a manager, I think that's one of the only professions that gives you a front row seat to see the social ills that plague our city. And oftentimes I would see certain policies being made, and I think well intended, certainly. But sometimes in practical application, some things were difficult to implement. As we saw even at the state level when we passed a reform to decriminalize, for example, drug addiction, drug possession, and we saw the unintended consequences. It came from a good place because we saw here in this state that a lot of folks were being locked up and in jail for very minor offenses. So a remedy for that is, well, let's decriminalize that, but as a consequence, it contributed to our homeless situation. And oftentimes our health providers, even us as police officers, we would work with them and trying to clean up our neighborhoods and our city, and we would make the statement that, well, they don't want services. I made the argument that, well, I don't think they have free will anymore, frankly. When they're so high, when they're so drug addicted, or some suffering from really serious mental disorders, you may have seen, or we may even have family members that they're often talking to themselves. And That's not the way as a society that we should be treating human beings, and just, because that's somebody's mother, somebody's child, and we could do better than that. And oftentimes, coming from a police perspective, particularly, you see women oftentimes were the victims of serious assaults, and how do you put somebody like that? We knew it happened, but how do you put them up on a stand? Who's gonna believe them? We knew it happened, but proving it's another thing. So there's a lot of challenges that go with that. So maybe about 10, 12 years ago, I started looking out, and I knew I had hit the summit of my career, was coming down, and I thought I want to do everything possible to prepare myself and to hone my skills to be an elected official. That's where I thought I saw my strength, and so I very purposefully went back to USC to get a master's degree in city and county management. So it wasn't, for me, it wasn't just throwing my hat in. I'm a studious person, I'm an avid reader, and so I wanted to prepare myself as best as I could to have the best capacity I could to lead this city. And so I was so grateful that the members of this community believed in me enough to vote me and elect me into office. I'm very centered in my policies. Being a police officer, most of us are very conservative. And so I come with that very centered approach, a very practical approach. But I'm a very aggressive person with a lot of enthusiasm. And if some of you are on Facebook, you'll see that I'm in a lot of places, taking notes, and out of those meetings and forums come homework, because we have to be able to deliver on some of those things. So, but I'm poised to do just that. I've got, just to give a personal background, me and my family too, I still have little kids. I've got a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 7-year-old. Yeah, so I stay quite busy. But I have that's when you realize, I think, through life experiences, you realize how important it is to have a partner that is supportive. And I'm very grateful that I have a wife that is very, very supportive of what I'm doing. And it's only because of that that I'm able to be here before all of you and willing to serve. And I'm intent on the important things that I want to accomplish, that I want to do. I made a list for myself, what I wanted to do. And I'm big on economic infrastructure development and growth, responsible growth, because I think we need it. You see the challenges with home ownership. It's difficult, and we need more of it, frankly. As I mentioned, being a police officer, you have the opportunity to go into people's homes every day, and you see the conditions in which they live, and so you see what this community needs. So that's the benefit I have. So I'm big on that. So you'll always see me pushing for that. I'm also big on beautifying our city, and I'm intent on doing just that. The previous council, I think, did an excellent job in designing some gateway signage into our city. They work with some key members of our community to together collaborate on a signage. And so what I did coming in is I wanted to see where we were at with that, to try to essentially just give it a charge to make it happen. And I'm proud to say that our city responded, and we have great staffers in our city, in our organization. Our executive team is good, and we should all be proud of them. And we also have a great council. We've got some tenured council members with a lot of experience, as Mr. Bert Perello, for example, smart individual with a lot of history here in Oxnard. I know I'm getting to learn more about him. We had a good 2-hour meeting, so I learned about him and his background, and that's, as a younger person coming in, I really cherish the value and the insight that somebody like Mr. Perello has. And so I'm glad that he's on the council and helping, because we've got 4 new elected members of council, so we've got that benefit. But I'm big on beautifying our city. One of the first things I did was meet with our public works director, and I hope you're noticing around the city is, I told him that one of my priorities is to beautify it, because I believe that aesthetically, if our city presents well, that really promotes home ownership, it promotes investment in our city, businesses to come in. And what I saw, and I've been driving around in a police car, is oftentimes you see palm trees that were not taken care of, they're falling over, trees falling over, or just not being maintained. So for me, I'm big on, I'm just on the aesthetics and beautifying our city. So that's why I push for the signage, which is, the first one very purposefully was placed in the south end of our city. Oftentimes, you compare the south end of our city with the north end of our city, and you see there's a significant difference. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But the sign is the first sign, the gateway sign, is already in place. It's, as you're coming in from Malibu, on the one, it's on the one in Pleasant Valley Road, so you'll see it there. And there's more to follow, including here at the harbor and in the north of the city. And then the old signage, what we're gonna do with that, that's been around for a long time. The collection is interested in that signage, and our only ask is that you get it from us and give a donation to a nonprofit from Oxnard. And this way, they're gonna display it, I think at the annex or somewhere. That's one of the signs, and we'll see where the other ones go to, so we can preserve that history. So I urge you to, like, right around our city, you'll see, like, particularly down on Rose Avenue, down on Rice, Gonzalez Road, you'll see that the trees are getting almost a haircut. They're being trimmed, and the arborist is doing a good job creating a nice canopy, just because the things look nice. It just, promotes pride in our city. The same thing goes for ensuring that, I come from the police department, so I certainly know that a priority, I think, for all city elected officials is public safety. Because without public safety, then you can't have a prosperous city. We always think about the places you visited and wonder, God, this is unsafe, or if things just look unsafe, we get the feeling that they're unsafe. And so I'm big on making sure that we have a police department that is fully staffed, well-staffed, and have the latest equipment available. That's why early on, if you followed my campaign, you'll see that I was a big proponent of our drone program, because I saw a lot of benefits. Certainly consider the privacy issues and things like that, but I looked at the advancement of technology as an aid to help in public safety. So I'm happy that our council voted to support the drone program here in our city. So we have a drone program that's going to be heavily utilized coming up. Here we've got 4th of July coming up, and that's always a challenge. So we will utilize that technology to try to effectuate just some vision, some eyes up there, and be able to then cite people that are responsible for illegal fireworks, for example. So I'm big on public safety, I'm big on economic development, and then beautifying our city, and then working collaboratively with others, because ultimately, as a council, there's some certain things we can do, but our strength comes with our collaboration. So one of the things that I'm doing is establishing really good relationships with the various stakeholders, the various key leaders here in our city, and then the surrounding jurisdiction. Anywhere from having good, robust communications with other elected officials, but also like the school districts that are here. Because one of the things that I'm finding out is going around talking to various groups and various businesses, particularly big employers here in our city, is that oftentimes, we want people from our community to be hired. But then one of the things that I hear is that our college system is not preparing them for some of those positions. And so I've had those conversations with the president of Oxnard College, with the president of California Lutheran University, and now with Cal State Channel Islands. And I think there's room to be excited, because they recognize that they've got some challenges too, not only with their declining enrollment, but they recognize that we've got to have some robust programs in there that meet the needs of this jurisdiction. Particularly right now when, a traditional academic degree is being challenged. Some folks, we still need the trades. Oftentimes we forget about that. We still need mechanics. We still need folks to work in the base doing a lot of the technical work, a lot of the IT work. And so we need to make sure that our colleges, prepare students for just that. And also being an advocate for Oxnard, because it's an eye-opener when you see, speaking of our colleges, you see that Oxnard College, for example, receives the least amount of funding in comparison to the others. I think Moore Park is right around $90,000, $90 million a year is what their annual budget is. And you look at Ventura, I think they're about $70 million. You look at Oxnard about $40 million. And that's a huge disparity there when we're the most populous city. Oxnard is the 22nd largest city in the state of California. There are a little over 480 cities or municipalities here in the state. And so Oxnard is a big city. I think we're the biggest between Los Angeles and San Jose or Fresno. So we've got big city problems. But I think this is a good time. There's a lot of optimism, because economically we're doing well as a city. Where other cities are struggling, we're doing well, and that's because of the vision that our previous council had, as well as our executive team. to recognize the challenges and have the vision to implement certain policies to make sure that we're economically sound. And we survived the pandemic, and now we've got some other challenges, but we're doing good in comparison to other cities that are struggling a little bit. So there's a lot of optimism, as well as a lot of the key leaders that you have here in our city. A lot of them are progressive. A lot of them want, they've got a good vision. They've got a lot of enthusiasm. So I'm just excited to be part of that team in the jurisdiction, and be able to hopefully deliver on some of these, some of these goals that I have set for myself. And if you're keeping up with what's happening in development, our council just approved the Teal Curve project. You saw that's just shy of 1,000 homes. I think it's 960 homes. And those decisions are certainly not easy. You always look at various perspectives. You really do. And I can sincerely tell you that all of us, every member of council is really genuinely trying to make the best decision that benefits all of us as community, and also thinking ahead for the future and trying to come up with those balances. And we're proud of some of the things we achieved with that project and the agreement with that. It's very unique, that project, for example. It's one of the first that will allow members of this community to have first shot at being able to purchase a home there. Oftentimes that doesn't happen. It's when they open up the homes, or anybody can come in and they line up and buy it during the first phase. And there's a lot of advantages to that, but also you bring in a lot of investors, people that just come in with cash money. But there's going to be a window where those that are here, that are Oxnard residents, can have first shot to buy a home. There's also we're giving preference to a lot of the localized labor here as well. So there's a lot of good benefits, as well as they're doing 15% low to very low affordable housing for members of this community that need just an opportunity to get into a home and build some equity. There's a lot of research to show that, given that opportunity to build equity and family wealth and progress, they do better. So there's a lot of optimism. We should be very proud living in this city. We enjoy the best weather. That's why the Dallas Cowboys come here. They see it now, right? They continue to come here. And one of the things that I'm doing here now is I've had also some discussions within our sports community as well, with the Olympics coming and with the World Cup coming. It's coming next year. We're sending out letters. I'm at the forefront of that, trying to see if I can't entice a country to perhaps consider staying here, whether it be at Zachary Dunes or staying at the same hotel as the Dallas Cowboys stay in. Hopefully we can get a pro team to stay here. They can train here, and we can bus them to and from SoFi Stadium, and that'll just put Oxnard again on the map and bring in more money into the city and just more attention to the city. So we're doing all of that, and I can tell you I'm certainly very accessible. I'm easygoing, and I always invite people to bring in new ideas, bring in commentaries, things that we need to prioritize. Just listen, because ultimately all of us work for all of you. And I like to stay informed. I always look at our agenda, look at what's in there, and I always try to confer with those individuals that may have some input on some of these things, so that we can be informed and make the best decision possible. So that's about me. That's about my vision, what I'm intending to do. But again, I'm always open for ideas. I'm always open for a discussion, always open for an opportunity to have conversations. And so at this point, I'll open it up to any questions, anything I can clarify, anything you'd like me to elucidate on, a particular subject, or anything of that nature. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mayor MacArthur, I am thrilled to hear about the new development at Teal and Doors, 990 homes. And you're right, it's going to give the opportunity for a lot of people to have home ownership that perhaps otherwise wouldn't. And I'm all for that. But having lived in Oxnard for 33 years, south of Woolley, and the area of Harbor Island, right there, I am concerned about the traffic and what's going to happen once we bring those new homeowners to Oxnard in this specific area. Traffic studies, We're talking 2-lane highways in each direction, and we're the only main thoroughfare other than Harbor to the freeway. So often we even get Ventura Road traffic migrating over, and who could blame them? I commuted for 30 years. It makes sense. But the bottom line is, I am a little concerned, and what studies have been done?
Yeah, there's been significant studies that have been done on the traffic impact, that's inherently gonna bring to this community, particularly as well as widening the roadways, as well to accommodate more traffic. Because part of this development is going to include bike lanes, as well, and it's also going to include bike paths within that community, connecting with other communities that butt up against it. Because we want to entice and we want to promote ridership. We want to promote folks to bike and cycle, for not only for wellness, but also just because it's a necessity as well. We've also been having some conversations with a lot of the employers in the area, particularly some of the farms and big employers. And I know some of them already are providing a bus and van transportation for some of their employees, where there's a concentration of them residing, to offer them that to minimize the number of vehicles that are on the roadway. But there's been an intensity in the traffic study that has been done to widen it, to look at, because when big projects like that come in, it takes a lot of review, to look at even the duration of some of these, the controlled intersections, how long the green light, the yellow light is gonna remain on, to try to account for the number of cars that are potentially coming in because of that. And no doubt it's gonna impact, it's gonna create more congestion, no doubt, as we continue to grow. But I tell you that the traffic study that has been done and will continue to be studied it's using the latest technology, utilizing the best advancement in what we have and what's been done in bigger metropolitan areas. So there's been a lot of focus on it, because we realize that is going to bring more cars into this whole jurisdiction, particularly in this area that hasn't seen it. There's also in place a school that may go in there as well. And also one of the things that we advocated for as a council is making sure that we've got open space, a green space that just enhances the beauty of the development. We're gonna have roundabouts, which is good for commuter safety, get cars to slow down, as opposed to a 4-way stop, so there's gonna be some of that. So we're doing everything we can to try to mitigate the potential traffic impact as well. And there's gonna be a lot of private streets as well. And the developer that is gonna be doing that project, I personally went out to see some of the other work that they've done, and they're doing the one up in Santa Paula. If you go off the 126, if you're driving towards Valencia on your left-hand side, they're doing some of that project as well. They're also doing the one in Camarillo off of Springfield.
Yeah.
So, it's, architecturally they present nice, and they really are intent on doing the best that they can. And certainly we're gonna be monitoring along the way and make adjustments as we need it. Part of that development does call, there's gonna be cost for more police that they're gonna be paying into, because obviously that's gonna increase that, as well as of the other services, including fire. And they'll have a landscaping fee as well, so that it doesn't impact the general community as well. So that landscaping fee will pay for the landscape maintenance of that district as well. So there is a lot of thought and consideration going into that, recognizing the potential impact that we have in our city. Thank you for that question. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was wondering on the traffic, is there any of these studies that are available for public consumption?
Yes, yeah.
And where would you find them?
You can find it on our city's website. You can find it on our city's website, and I can share that with you as well if you want to. If you want to, and I can tell you directly where to go to find that information.
And I do think
It's in
that,
the EIR.
Yes,
It's in
yes,
the
ma'am.
environmental impact report, Field Club's environmental impact report.
it's in the environmental.
All of the traffic studies are there.
I will say this, that I have seen it work, like at Harbor and Woolley. That intersection was a mess for years. And they looked at it and they totally redid it. And it's great. And it would be nice to see something like that be done to 5 points. 5 points is a mess. at Saviors and, Woolley and whatever road that goes around there.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a total mess.
5.6 is challenging. I've been out there directing traffic when everything went down, so I certainly know it is a challenge. But, you know, we encounter some of these same, problems with traffic and anticipating potential problems with the various developments right here, right along the harbor here, and the potential impact. And I think you would agree that I think we did a really good job in doing that. It's a beautiful development that's happened here. It's really enhancing our city. And, you know, the traffic impact, and I hope I'm not wrong, but it hasn't been that significant. I know that Cumberland Police will look at the number of collisions. We do our own studies, working with the traffic engineer. And this is not one of the areas that has a high probability of collisions or frequency of collisions, comparison to other areas, much like you mentioned, 5 Points and others, that are a lot more dangerous, such as like Rice and Fifth, for example. You know, we just got, you might have seen me out there with a shovel, because we pushed that project along, and I think we're gonna, that is, you know, the benefits of the city, we're not spending a whole lot other than the time from our public works department, but thanks to our elected officials here in this jurisdiction, they were able to advocate for it, because the Fifth and Rice intersection where the train is, the state ranks that as the second most dangerous crossing where a train crosses. Remember, we had that derailment back about 10 years ago in 2017, and here not too long ago we had another serious crash there. And so we've got $133 million to do a grade separation, and that's, so if you pass through, you'll see a lot of the equipment out there, the piles of dirt that's being moved around, because that'll be the biggest construction project happening here in this county for the next couple of years. You know, but yes, thank you for that, for sharing where they can find that information. Thank you. Yes, sir.
I've got a question with landscape. I live in Mandalay Bay, and I don't know if who heard when the landscaping, when they started to clean the trees up, because we've got the noise pollution, we've got the major traffics on Harbor between where Woolley is coming south to Channel Islands Boulevard. Well, they came and cleaned the trees, cleaned on the east side of the street, cleaned the land up great, and then all the trees there, they trimmed to about 10 or 12 foot up and left the bushes, and now we have a view corridor, we've got extra noise. A few years ago, they planted oleanders, and I think somebody bought miniature oleanders because they haven't grown. And I can't believe the money the city spent to trim the trees, and they made it worse for the people that live in Mandalay Bay without any input from us. And they did nothing to the top of the trees. And if you drive by there, you'll see what we're talking about.
Okay. I'll make a note of that. I'm sorry that happened. I'll make a note of that and circle back with those responsible, and maybe schedule a time to come back and maybe bring those individuals back and provide an explanation what happened that led to that decision.
Yeah, well, the last meeting that we were here, one of the city council, I don't know who it was on the city, kind of made light of it, saying, you're the only people that don't want us to trim any trees. And they thought, you know what, I kind of took that, you know, everybody started snickering. But there's a reason why we want these trees there, so we could cut down in the noise pollution and the view.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, there's some neighborhoods, particularly like by the airport as well, where very purposefully there is higher hedging and different types of trees, just for that reason, to not only provide privacy, but also to act as sound barriers. So there's things that are done very intentionally. So, you know, I'm sorry that had that outcome that it did, but I can certainly go back and have that conversation, bring those individuals back, and because we should, you know, whenever big projects are being undertaken, this is the purpose of having meetings like this, is to get some feedback, get some input, and so we can collaborate to make sure that whatever product we're delivering or doing, that it has your consideration, your buy-in, because ultimately it should benefit you, it shouldn't hurt you. That should not be the intent. Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay, you mentioned twice about pruning palm trees instead of valuing them. you come down Victoria, main drag between Fifth and Woolly, that center hasn't had the palm trees pruned for probably 3 to 4 years. There's even palm trees that are dead and falling over. I've tried the 311 app several times. You just drive by and look at them. That's one issue there that everybody sees that needs to be addressed.
And where's this at?
On Victoria,
Okay.
between Fifth and Woolly. In the median.
They just
Okay.
trimmed them.
No, those are further down. I drive that every day.
Palms.
No, they're palm trees. Palm trees.
With that big wind, there was a lot of those
And the
leaves
third
came
one
down.
from the end has been dead, the head on it, for probably a year and a half, 2 years. It's hanging over. I even called and said, if it falls on a car, there's gonna probably be a lawsuit. And it's still there, but drive by, you'll see it.
Okay.
The other thing, I don't know what you can do about the city, but when you come down Victoria, all the plastic on the farmer's fields, 90% of it is always just beat up by the wind and flapping out, and it just looks terrible. I don't know what can be done with a private field, but it doesn't look really nice as you come down the road.
But, that's a good point, and that's what I mentioned earlier about collaboration, because we can have those conversations, it's private property, but we can have those conversations with the property owners. I tell you, one of the things I have done is I've had conversations with Dr. McCoy, for example, he's the superintendent of the high school. I've had conversations with the superintendent of the elementary school district to get them to help us beautify our city. So it's been a very intentional conversation where I've told them, look, I'm intent on making sure that we beautify our landscapes in our center medians, but equally, because there's 5 high schools here in the city, including the 22 elementary schools, I asked them to also be responsible, as well as the college, be responsible to make sure that you also take care of your landscape and your trees so that there is not a significant difference between what you see. And we're also committed to doing just that ourselves, so we can have those conversations with them. I don't know offhand if there's anything in our code with code compliance that will mandate them to.
It just looks.
Yeah.
There's one field on the east side that looks very nice.
Okay.
He takes very good care of that.
And others-
plastic, and right across the street, it's just looks like
Okay.
a bad garage sale.
Right. Or minimum, we can have the conversation with the owners and just, bring it up and see if they're willing to make it better. Yes, sir.
Everything costs money, and
Yes.
your goals are great, education, super, beautification, safety, but it costs money, and I'm sure you consider the cost of the additional infrastructure for all the new housing, which again is a great thing. But everywhere you look, I see the mayor on TV begging for money, I see the governor going to the federal for money. Every time I vote, there's all of these things, do I approve this bond, that bond, the other bond? Clearly, there's not enough money to do everything that everybody wants to do. And I guess my question is, do you have a set of priorities within all of those goals?
Yes, you're right, you can't get anything done without money. But we can work more efficient. We can work more efficiently with what we have. I came from a meeting before coming up here where they were asking, that particular group was indicating that we should have more police officers. More police officers to patrol and to enhance our downtown, that where you still see a lot of vagrants, a lot of folks that are houseless. And as is, the police department, I come from there, we take the bulk of the city's money from the general fund. How much do you want to give to police? So that's a philosophical decision. You're absolutely right. If you don't have a safe city, then you may not be able to have a prosperous city. But when you only have a certain amount of money, so having a piece of pizza, you may need a bigger piece of pizza to be able to properly fund the various groups. So we just have to work efficiently with what we have. Earlier when I said that we've made good decisions, with the passage of Measure E, for example, particularly during the pandemic where the voters approved that because we needed that. We needed those resources. And so that put us in a position where here in Oxford, whereas Los Angeles, you see that they've got a deficit. They're like, Mayor Bass is going up asking the governor for some relief and from some help. Here in Oxnard, we're doing good. Economically, we're doing good, but we have to be very mindful and very conscientious about the decisions that we make. So when I talk about like beautifying our streets and medians, it is not like a capital improvement project. It is just simply taking care of what we have. You're not seeing new palms, new trees going up. It's just what we have is, like the gentleman said, we shouldn't have these farms just falling over. We should just go out there and trim them and cut them. Something like that, so that we don't spend money because we have to be frugal, particularly in these uncertain times that we're living through right now. And also to make sure that we're negotiating well, just like with the Teal Cup project. Negotiating where the contractor, they want to do business here, to make sure that they're contributing, to make sure that it's not coming from our general fund. So we're conscientious about doing just that, to make sure that what actions we do are efficient and are productive, and that we're getting the best value for our decisions. So we're very mindful of that.
Mike Tripp said something pretty clever to me tonight. He said when he was asked, when he was interviewing, they said, how do you please everybody? And his answer was, you don't. And I'm sure you realize you can't please everyone as well.
I do, and sometimes I don't know if you can tell what kind of personality I have. I'm a consensus builder. I understand there's different perspectives. And oftentimes when there is a disagreement with a decision, I'm a person that listens, and I will go to somebody else when I know I'm gonna make a decision that is directly in opposition to what that, group or person wanted. But I will inform them why, and take the pros and cons into account, and hopeful that if most of us can be proven reasonable, which I think is what we need more in today's world, is to just have a conversation and get someone to understand, look, I sincerely am doing this because this is what I'm weighing in, trying to make the best decisions that benefit all of us. Because if I'm successful, then you're all successful. And if I fail, then we all fail. So I need the support from all of you to make sure that I make the best informed decisions possible. And you're right, you make one decision, you're gonna hurt somebody else. But you do try to find a balance. And oftentimes, here I'm very proud of some of the meetings we've had lately where they've been workshop meetings, where essentially we take, for example, we've had the rent control issue, and we've had the organization of realtors come in, and we've had members of CAUS come in, and we've had our own city staff, and we've gone down one by one. It's like, well, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about this? Can we come to a consensus? And this is what we can implement. Okay, once we agree with that, let's move on. Let's go to the next item. And that's how government should work, because ultimately we work for all of you. We're generally trying to make the best decisions possible so that we can all have a prosperous city.
Yeah.
Time for one more question.
Oh, yes, sir. Okay. Yes, sir.
It's been some years since the voters passed the Permit Simplicity Act.
Yes.
What is the status of implementing it?
Yeah, there's been some challenges, and I've had an opportunity to sit down with the director of planning, with Jeff Pingili, and there's been some challenges internally that we've had with implementing that. We're still a little antiquated in our system. We still have paper. We should be automated and we should go digital, and it's something that we're focused on doing because we recognize that our permitting process has not been efficient as it could be. I mean, we got good staff trying to do the best work. And I know you don't want to hear that, we're understaffed and we can't implement, but we are working hard to get the right people in place to augment that department to be able to do just that, because if folks aren't able to quickly get their permits for, their addition that they're doing, or some home addition that they're doing to their home or businesses, then we all lose, because that's money that we're not making as a city, and that's, you're not being able to realize your permit. But that issue has been brought up, and we're working hard to make sure that we implement that and get that going quickly. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Pretty appreciate your perspective. We'll reach out to Dave. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Dave, there was a young lady in green had her hand up from the very beginning.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
That's okay.
Oh,
That's
all right.
okay, I was gonna ask her in private, but since there's going to be so many people coming in, buying homes, we hope, what about the airport opening? Wouldn't that produce some revenue? I mean, opening up to some commercial flights going into LAX, it would also ease the traffic on the
Well, yeah, you know,
Could you
I mean.
repeat the question for those of us who didn't hear?
Sure, she was indicating about us, having, more activity at the airport, being able to like increase the flights, to and from LAX, maybe elsewhere, that would alleviate some of the traffic. And that's, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I would like to see personally more travel coming into the city and being able to offer more flights out of the city. So that's just, you know, you have an airport authority there, and that's for them to work and try to like entice the various airlines to come in here and offer services. And I'm sure they're intent on doing it. If they see that if there's a benefit, they will come. Just like, you know, we tried hard in the South End to try to bring in a Trader Joe's, to try to bring in some of these grocery stores. But sometimes it's difficult because they have their own studies and they don't see that they don't have that market for it. You know, you try to entice them, you try to work to negotiate with them, but they have to make sure that they see a profit oftentimes. Same thing with the airport. I think for United or any one of those airlines, to want to come here, I mean, we would certainly want to have them here. It's just whether or not they see that it's a viable option for them. But that's good, yeah. We
I
would
think those new homeowners on Doris.
Yeah, you know, that's one of the things that was brought up with the Teal Club project, is the air quality, the sound, and, you know, that's why you're gonna have in there, I mean, we can sometimes regulate, the hours of the flights coming into our city, for example, not past certain amount of time, not before X amount of time. You can try to regulate that to minimize it, but at the same time, you'll have those disclosures that you are buying next to an airport, and there's a possibility of sound, et cetera. So you make that, you know, that decision on your own, whether or not you wanna buy a home there. Just like I live near a train, near the railroad tracks, and so we hear the train, and, but we knew that going in, and that's okay, so that you have that option as well. Okay. Thank you for that question, thank you.
I lived next to an airport before, that's enough.
All right,
We
so
live in the city.
our next speaker is gonna give us an update on Fisherman's Wharf and Carl's project. Axel, will you come down and
Is it Axel?
please join me in welcoming?
No, this is
We got it.
Okay.
Hi, guys. Can I have the clipper, please?
Yep.
If it works.
Try to
If
do
not,
it.
you can just say paid down.
Worked a minute ago.
Yeah, hey, everyone, I'm back. I was here, I think, Q4 in 2024. And back then, I didn't have much material, and I promised, hey, we come back, you know, once we developed a little more. And today I have a little more material, and I think a few more, you know, news to tell. And it's, you know, it's slow moving, but you will find out. So join me on a little journey here, all right? And let's just make it so that we answer the questions after. Let me just get through this. I take about 10 to 15 minutes, and then we can go from there. Okay. So it working?
The receivers
Point
out.
it at the computer.
Aim for this. Let's pull, ready, let's do this. There you go. Should that light? Right, try the other direction.
Can you just
Well, I think
hit
you're
the
pushing,
right?
you're pushing on the light.
No, I'm just pushing on this.
Oh, you were, okay.
Can you push the right button? Yeah?
Try the other way, try down.
Can I just?
Here we go.
Yeah, you do that.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, so just to pick everyone up, so we received the lease option with the County of Ventura and the Harbor Department in May 2024, and since then we've been doing a lot of studies to fulfill the requirements within the lease option agreement, right? So we can't get a lease until all these requirements are fulfilled, like traffic studies, bird studies, you know, getting the plans in order, getting coastal commission improvement, and a long list has to be fulfilled before we can actually put foot on site. So a lot of things we have completed. We have completed traffic and parking studies now, wildlife studies, and we developed the design. And the biggest new thing really is, compared to being here last time, is that we completed this package together with the harbor, and the harbor then submitted this package to the Coastal Commission. as a as a document, as a project. Hey, we are here. We would like to build this. Now the Coastal Commission is reviewing this project internally. There will be a phase when they'll also publish it, and once the Coastal Commission is okay with this project, then we can go to the city of Oxnard and file for building permits, right? So that's where we are right now, that we are sitting and waiting for the Coastal Commission to review the project, while we are still developing our concept a little more detailed, right? From an operational perspective, really looking at where all the things are going and going into the floor plans a little more. And so we're trying to use that time, but it could also be that the Coastal Commission says, all right, this building can't be there, then we'll have to change it retrospectively. But we want to, save a little time and do a little legwork as this waiting process is happening. And so my optimistic hope is that, throughout the second half of the year, we get an appointment with the Coastal Commission where they decide on this project, and consequently get the planning approval for this. And then we can go to the city of Oxnard. And then we need a few months after that to really pile everything together and bring it over to City Hall. And that's kind of more the technical stuff. This is really the only, text boring stuff in this situation. And you got it. That point right there.
No, it was working. You're pushing the wrong way.
Try it down there.
Why'd you do it for him?
Oh, I see.
I see. I was going the wrong way. All right. So I just want to, remind everyone, what CALS is and what CALS will be about at the Fisherman's Wharf here. And what we are really hoping to implement there is a concept of, low threshold coastal access with with a retail experience. And my biggest point here today is really to show you, that also the concept that we have developed is a retail heavy project. Our percentage of retail and what we are usually doing in locations that have the size of the Fisherman's Wharf is somewhere between 50 and 60%. So CALS is really a retailer. The next biggest group is food and beverage, right? All of our outlets, our restaurants, they make about 28% of the overall revenue. And that is, really interesting, because how do you get all these people to, spend the money on the retail and still come back? And our concept really is to create these retail-tainment experiences, right? Where we are providing products that are, the basis of them, they are regular products that you find elsewhere, but we put our spin to it and we produce them internally, and they are internal CALS products. And what we do on top of it is that within the retail, we are an ever-evolving kind of retail experience, right? Where we, for example, this is something we just opened in Germany. Within the big market hall, we created a California Christmas, for example, right? Not interesting to you because you live in California, but over there, it is interesting. We're doing 365 now, 365 days a year, having this California experience, and you can buy Christmas market stuff in there, right? So a lot of crazy themes overlapping. And can we go to the next one? And can you go one further? Sure. And but that doesn't exclude our standard kind of feel, the artsy, the farm-like feel, and selling these products that go into home. Also sausages and cheese, and all of that is still part of it. We can go one further, and all of this is then combined into one of you will see actual plans for this in a second. Is combined in our big retail buildings. Continue, please. And this is the edutainment aspect of it that we call manufactories, right? And we're planning to bring this into the retail experiences here as well. As you enter the premises, you walk in, there's a bakery on the side, the baker is kneading the bread, putting it in the oven, you can buy it. And the same with a lot of other products, coffee, soap, candy, and all of that. As you go through the retail experience, you can see all of that, right? You don't have to pay for it. You just You just let it come to you, and then you decide to do with it whatever you want to do. And little impression of our food and beverage. Then we also do events like ice carving sculptures, sand sculpting sculptures, and we plan to bring in that here as well to keep an ever-evolving program in the harbor. Thanks for turning it down. These are kind of moving pictures to give you really the impression of, you know, this retail edutainment concept that I'm trying to implement here. The jam cooking, of course, chocolate making, all of these things will be spread out throughout the property. Candy making.
That's the point.
I'm ready.
Out here,
Yeah, oh, sorry.
How many projects do
how
you
many
have going on in
projects
the
do you
US?
have going on internationally?
We have like 12, 13 in Germany right now, and
What about here in the States?
this is the first one in Oxnard, in the strawberry capital of the world. That's our intention, really, to go somewhere where we have an emotional connection, right? And also, you know, for anyone who hasn't been following this so much, the connection really is that the ownership, it's a family company founded in 1921 and been doing strawberries in Germany. We are also the largest strawberry grower. And the family's been coming to Oxnard for, you know, 50, 60 years with the grandfather, the father, and the son now, the current owner, Robert. And they've been coming here year after year, sometimes several times a year, to really, you know, learn about the strawberry farming and learn about the techniques, and, you know, brought them home. And I think it's a big part of what made them successful over there. And, you know, that's another side of the business. This is something we don't plan on doing here. We're still doing that in Germany, but this is what we are trying to get done here. Now it's gonna get a little interesting because we're going into the actual wharf, right? With the backstory I just told you. This was one of our first kind of breakthrough moments where we decided on our adjusted concept for the Fisherman's Wharf. Because you guys envision now you're coming down Victoria and you're about to turn right on West Channel Islands, right? And it's really, there's this corner building with a shark on top, and it's really, you know, in the old days this might have worked. You drive your car in and then you walk out to the restaurants, but we just figured out that this was actually the thing that was blocking the site for every new thing to happen. And so we said, hey, let's open this up. What can we do if we just think tabula rasa? And so we decided to create something that is addressing the intersection and is addressing the site like a signage, right? Like, hey, we are here. This is the harbor. You have arrived at the harbor, and there is something new going on here. So, and that really then turned us into a situation where we're facing the entire development towards the main intersection. This is Victoria. This is West Channel Island, and so we want to you know, capitalize on that people see that. That doesn't mean you enter here, right? You drive down into the existing parking lot, it's right here. And then you have the same thing mirrored on the other side, so you can, you know, flow through this building on that side here into this S-shaped building. And the channel is here on this side, right? And all the elements that we have on site are still exactly the same as we had them before. We slightly rearranged them. You know, we further developed you know, the flow a little bit for the site. You know, we kept our, you know, big landing dock. You know, we kept the concept with the water taxi in collaboration with the harbor. We keep in the commercial fishermen there. You know, we are conceptualizing a fish market now. We're keeping our, you know, boardwalk, our widened boardwalk along the west side of the development, and we keep in a big restaurant right at the Fisherman's Wharf, so that when you are sitting in there, when you're sitting in here, that you can see the happening of the fishermen, you know, which is always really cool to watch, and that is really supposed to be the backdrop. And of course, also on site, sprinkled throughout the development are, you know, little playgrounds, little kid attractions, so that there's something for everyone to do on this property.
Will parking be subterranean?
No, it will be the existing southern parking lot that we have right there, right? The second part of the half, I didn't want to put it up here so that you can see this lot big. And so that results kind of in this, you know, all the pink is all the food outlets pretty much, and all the yellow is all the retail, and all the brown is the back of house things that we need to operate. So to give you a rough overview on what the division of area is.
How big is the parking area for the boats if you want to come in?
You know that dock, it's really long, there's like 17 slips plus like 300 feet of just dock.
The dock's not changing.
So the dock's not changing at all. So yeah. So here a few elevations to also show you the height in comparison to the lighthouse, right? The lighthouse is 51 feet, and our development is not allowed to go any higher than 35 feet, which is significantly lower than the lighthouse, right? So actually right now you have existing buildings that are, I think they're way over 40 with the little cupolas, you know. That was, I think, legal because there were architectural features, but yeah, we are going down to 35 feet in the current proposal. And well, that's also the zoning, so we can't go any further. And in terms of just the style and the design, you know, we are working with a company. They're technologically very advanced, and we like the language they're speaking and the way they produce buildings. This is an example from California, from that company. It's not going to be exactly like it, but to give you a feel of, you know, now combining on what I showed you before, combine this with the plans, and now combine this, you know, with the builder. This is up in northern, well, closer to the Bay Area. It's a community center, and I picked this example because it has these, you know, wide open spaces. You know, the big glass doors, open ceilings, and wide spans, you know, either glulam or heavy timber. You know, we're alternating that a little bit, and so I think this is a great example of their work on what they're doing. So they're going to be working with us to, at least right now, to create the big main building for the retail and restaurant. Okay. So, and at the end of the day, what we are creating is, I decided this was a good shot. So we took this is an actual drone shot, right? You see the islands, so we flew up from, you know, where the Bank of America is, just behind that, took the drone shot, and then the architect from Oxnard, she implemented that rendering in there. So really to show the intersection appeal, right? That you have arrived, and you know, we want to create this wonderful signage combination at the corner, you know, between, you know, Channel Islands, and of course our branding will need to be in there as well. So that's where we are right now. You know, of course, you know, little things are always still changing. You know, the trees and, you know, things move around a little bit, but that is the current status of the design. And for the time being now, we are diving a little more into the details, into the weeds of, you know, the layout, while we are waiting on, you know, feedback from the highest of the high, and you know, then we will gladly implement, you know, any feedback they give us. And yeah, that's kind of all I had. I think there's only one more slide, and that just, yeah. Again, I think the people who try to contact me, I'm very approachable. Just write down my number, call me anytime, and we can chat. Okay? Yes?
What do you think is your overall schedule?
Oh, yeah. So in the very first slide with all the text, so it's really dependent on planning, and planning is Coastal Commission, right? So if the Coastal Commission comes around, you know, in middle of the year or in July, August, I think we can hopefully break into ground in 2026. But if it gets later, you know, it'll push it out. I think we can really determine a solid schedule once we have planning approval. And then the rest, the permitting needs to be worked out with the city of Oxnard on how we phase that, right? But it's really on the Coastal Commission. And they know the project and they've been briefed. It's at the staff level now, and we hope that you know, they can move it quickly before all the you know, Malibu homes come in. Yes.
Is Carl gonna run the retail and food, the restaurant establishments, or are you gonna bring in?
No, we are running.
You're
Well,
gonna own those
we're gonna own all of it except for Spudnuts. Spudnuts is something we keep, right? And also the real guppies. So we're gonna have like some smaller subtenants that we put in, but we are in control of everything. So if a retail part or something doesn't work or food outlet is not performing well, we can swap it out quickly, right? And that's the benefit of you know, operating everything. So you won't have dead areas that sit empty for a while. It's really hard for me to decide who was next. I don't want to get out of order, so I don't want to be unfair.
No, let's go ahead. It'll take a few minutes.
So I just start from the back, because usually the guys in the back, they're all the way in the back.
Thank you, I appreciate it. You were mentioning that Carl's operates a strawberry production farm in Germany. Does that mean that the berries will not be utilized from here, the farms, the local farms?
Oh no, we do not want to be involved in actual farming here. It's a really hard business, you know. It's not a fun
Let's
business.
put it this way, so you are going to be utilizing the berries from...
Oh yes, exactly. It's actually funny, like I was driving around all day today, you know, talking with the Driscolls, with all the local farmers, and it's actually a quite complicated world, the strawberry world, because if you buy a strawberry from Driscolls, and you think, oh well, Driscoll's right there, the strawberries here, they might just be coming from Santa Maria some time of the year, right? And so what we really are looking for is, okay, a farmer that can supply the demand that we're looking for, and that can say, hey, ideally it's the same variety from Oxnard, you know, that we can say, okay, they're Oxnard strawberries. I'm sure there are times of the year where you just cannot do it physically, biologically, but that's our mission, to partner with somebody who wants to supply us with strawberries. And yeah, if you know somebody, let me know.
Is that gonna be difficult for some reason?
To do what?
To get somebody to do that, a strawberry farmer?
No, it's gonna be. I don't know if it's gonna be difficult. I mean, there's plenty of strawberries out here, right? It's just an interesting infrastructure because you know, we usually have everything under our control, the whole supply channels, and here we have to ask somebody, find the right varieties, because the varieties are also very different here. You know, they have different flavors, and you know, do they go with the recipes and the products and all of that. And again, strawberries is only one aspect. I mean, there's other things like, you know, honey sausages and cheese and arts and craft stuff. So all of that will be very interesting.
Does it still include overnight accommodation?
So what we've done now for this phase, for the Coastal Commission package here, we have taken out the hotel, because initially we had the hotel at the corner in the Shark building. And initially we thought it was really cool, but then we realized the Shark building is actually what's killing the site right now. And so we taken this building down, and it relieves the pressure a little bit on the program. And so we have a plan B for the hotel for future phases. And but it's not part of this current submittal, and it's gonna stay small, boutique-y. Okay.
Will it have a European feel or a Newport Beach feel? And also, can you give us some examples of what the retail stores would be like, and what the price point is, and what possibly you can buy at these retail stores?
Well, it's one big retail store, like a big market hall, like I showed you in the picture, right? So like within the market hall, you have a little stand for sausage, a little stand for candy, a little, you know, a little bit of everything. And that's the feel is really, it's going to be a cross of you know, little cottage, a little bit, you know, to pick up on the style that's there, pick up on the maritime, but also a little bit of the farmy agricultural, like barn look, right? A little bit of, you know, old wood, a little bit of, you know, old rusted corrugated metal. So that's really so by the Newport Beach style, I I'm sorry, I don't know what you mean by that.
Expensive.
So yeah, it's going to be a mix of things, right? But it's one big, you know, it's one big building where you kind of walk. It's one big marketplace, yeah. Okay, now we go over there again. Behind you, the lady behind you.
I want to know, how long is the lease on the project?
So the current lease, so we don't have the lease, we have the lease option. Once all the check marks are checked, right, by the Coastal Commission, by the harbor, then we have a 30-year lease for this project currently. Yes.
Axel, I got a question. We met a few times. Were the Spud Nuts groups that meet on Friday at 9 o'clock?
Yeah.
You know, you had that pie, but you didn't show about the Spud Nut group, the medallion you're gonna put in for us, so we can sit around there, okay? You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we got a lot of
Don't worry,
members
he won't
here.
be around by the
Yeah,
time
we
you
got a lot
guys
of-
he'll be long gone.
We got a lot of members that meet in our launch chairs. Plus, I'm looking around, there's a lot of senior citizens. Do we get a senior citizen day?
What we usually do, I don't want to promise anything, but what we usually do is that the immediate community of wherever we go, that the immediate community gets like these, what we call them access passes, right, with which you get discounts pretty much.
Oh, we
Oh,
like
now
you.
you're talking our
Yeah,
language.
yeah.
And I know that you guys are also a really funny group, so there's going to be a little, in one of the restaurants, a little stage, so maybe you can set up on that stage. Tell your jokes.
We need our emblem there.
There you go, your retail experience.
All right.
There's generally a lot of support for the project in the community, and we're all anxious to get it going. So how do we help you get through the Coastal Commission? Is it time to unleash a letter writing campaign from the community?
It's definitely too early for that, I think, but I'm sure Michael will elaborate on that
Okay.
once the time comes. But I think the biggest thing we can all ask for is just be patient. You know, be patient. That's what I've learned, and you know.
Well, let us know when it's time to unleash it.
Yeah, we're getting a little closer.
All right.
I had a question about the parking. Again, there's no parking around any of the structures, am I correct?
Yes, there is. So what you saw was the northern part of the site. That's about, you know, just under 5 acres. The southern part of the site is about 6 acres, 2.5 acres of which are, you know, the park that we are refurbishing, and the other 3 to 4 acres are parking. So it's going to be around 300 parking stalls just in that, just south of it. That's going to be only dedicated to us. And then just below that, you have the whole launch ramp, right? The launch ramp area, and it all flows into each other. So the parking is going to be part of our project.
But it's not around the building.
Right. It's south of the building.
It would be
Yes.
south, okay.
So you know where the RVs are right now?
Yes, I know.
So that whole parking lot is going to be parking lot. Yeah.
Sounds like there's a lot more parking than you had before. Sounds good. I mean, you're gonna draw a lot of people there. And if you can't find a place to park.
Yeah, I mean, the
we
harbor
have-
is big, right? So, and we have the water taxi, so
Yeah.
shovel them. Okay, any other questions?
So is your current, or one of your current facilities in Munich?
We are opening one in Munich in 2026, close to Munich, like about an hour north. It's called Plech, P-L-E-C-H.
So if we were in Germany, where would be a good place to go to see one of your facilities?
Depends on your you know, your likings. You know, there's a beautiful location where we renovated a castle, you know, and put a lot of amenities in there. That would be kind of in the center of Germany. You know, beautiful ones are at the coast. Then we have actually a very small cult, but it's at the water. It's called Pier 7 actually. And that has a very maritime feel to it. We serve a lot of fish food there. That's up in the northern part, about 2 hours of Berlin. And if you want to go like into a really big park, that's the one and we call it really a park, it's the one in Berlin, but that is not representative, right? That is, you know, when people Google cars and see a big massive roller coaster, that is the one there. But all the other locations are different and vary in size and programming, you know. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we didn't mean to ignore you, so if you wanted.
Well, I just wondered if you guys are now considering the fact that
You're importing a lot of your products from Germany. Tariffs?
Tariffs, yeah. You know, I just actually sent a batch of jam over to Germany, and they're gonna have to pay 50% taxes on that jam, right? They already told me at the post office, you know, there's 50% of taxes on what you're sending here. Yeah, we take it as it comes, because I mean, it keeps changing every day, and we of course we can't.
So do we.
We can't import everything, so we are going to relocate supply chains. For example, our coffee, we have our own coffee in South America that we are growing there. That is an easy thing to just bring up here, right? But a lot of stuff directly from Germany we're gonna have to resource, and we're producing a lot of it in-house, right? So that will be easy. But it's an interesting question, and it's keeping me up at night. So.
Sorry.
All right, thank you, Ashley. Good job. Very good. I think we all have now a much better sense of the vision for this particular project, and I think we all really like it, so that's a good thing. So next up is our Harbor Director, Michael Tripp, who's going to tell us a little bit about what's going on for a special occasion, the 60-year anniversary of the Channel Islands Harbor.
Right. Do you still have the remote? Excellent. Oh, this is it?
That's it.
Okay.
It might be counted, I think down means up.
Let's see. Down does mean up. Here we go. All right. So, yeah, my main goal today is to tell you about all the events that we have coming up for our 60th anniversary. But before I do that, really quickly, I just want to tell you about a few things we've been working on in the harbor and a little bit about the private projects. First off, we've been doing a lot of parking lot projects. I'm sure you've seen the parking lots in the harbor aren't great. And so we've done several of them on the other side of the harbor, and we did the one next to the rudder room. And so next up, we're working on getting these ones that go right along Harbor Boulevard done. And so that's going to be a huge project. It's going to cost a couple $1 million. Thankfully, City of Oxnard is going to throw in $1 million for that, so we appreciate that. This is something I want to show you. We're doing this a lot around the harbor right now, and I think it's something that you're not going to notice right away, but it's going to make it a more pleasant place. When I was listening to the mayor today talking about the beautification process, I completely agree with that. So this is what a lot of our landscaping looks like in the harbor right now. Kind of ugly shrubs, or that one doesn't have weeds coming up from it, so it's nicer than some of them. But so we're working on this, and so this is what they look like now. We're using our own maintenance crew. We're reusing things where we can. Like the anchor is one that we got off an old restaurant. We're taking rocks from other places. We're of course importing this little stone there, but generally speaking, we're using our own crews, and we're doing our best to make this economical, but still something that's going to make the harbor look more attractive. And yeah, this is another example. This is again in Peninsula Park. And if you look at the wall behind there, that used to just be regular cement, and it was getting tagged all the time. And you can see this is pretty much just dirt coming up. And so first we had that wall painted blue, and then we hired a local artist, the Rock Fairy, to come in with some other people. And she painted a bunch of fishes and stuff like that on it, so it makes it makes it look a little nicer. And the people haven't been tagging it anymore. And we also put in some wood shavings in there, just so it's not so bad on the kids' feet. And we're also going to replace all this play equipment as well. It's seen better days, and so we're just doing little things like this around the harbor just to try to make it look a little better. And so we also have several private projects I just wanted to mention because they're coming along right now. First, commercial fishing marina. We just got a lease option done on this, and basically they want to remove the old docks and put in these new docks, and also make the restrooms nicer. And we've been working with the commercial fishermen on this as well. And so that project's coming along. We just got the lease done, so you're probably looking 3 years out for anything gets done on this one, actually.
Where is that?
The commercial fishing marina, it's right by Marine Emporium Landing. Yeah, it's just north of it. Now this is happening right now. This is at the front of the harbor. It's the anchorage that's the furthest out, and is under construction as we speak. If you're hearing clanking today, that's the pile driving, because they're putting in the new piles. And so they're taking out those old docks, which were probably the worst in the harbor, because they're at the front of the harbor, so they're taking all the wave action. And they're putting in some brand new ones, and this project's happening. It'll probably be done by the end of the year. Next up, across the way over there, we have the Anacapa Isle Marina. These are about 80% done, and so they stopped the work right now, but they're gonna start it up again in August, and it should take about 6 weeks to complete. It's one of many dock projects that we're doing out here, and so we're gonna have a lot of nice new docks in the harbor in the next 5 years or so. The Hyatt House project, this one's moving like molasses, unfortunately. You know, we definitely want to see it moving quicker. What they have done recently is they did what's called poured-in-place piles around the perimeter of the site. That's where you drill a deep hole and you pour concrete in it. And they also did the utilities that are necessary for the peninsula docks, which are the ones at the end of the peninsula here. And the reason that they did that is because the company that's doing the Bahia Anchorage, as soon as they finish that, they're moving over to Peninsula, and they're gonna redo those docks as well. And so they needed all the utilities in place so that, you know, when the hotel came in and decided to, you know, drill the piles or anything, they're not gonna disturb the utilities. And so they made way for that project to move forward. Now, this is what I really wanted to tell you about, the events, what we're doing out here, because this is the 60th anniversary of the harbor. We're really excited about it. And so what we've been wanting to do is to bring back some events that, you know, you people might have liked in the past, and also just make all the other events that we have here a little better, more fun. And so we already had our Festival of Whales. This was a couple weekends back, and it was, in the time that I've been here, this is the biggest one that we've had. It was a lot of fun. We had this mural that kids were able to paint. We had the chalk artist again, kids and adults, I should say. There was a lot of tall stuff on there that I had to help out with. We also had the Rock Fairy. This woman on the right here is the one who painted that playground. She was teaching kids about, you know, painting on rocks. And we added carnival games this time, so that was another thing for people to do. And it was a really well attended event. Safe Boating Expo is coming up. We haven't had this for a few years, but it's coming up on May 17th. This is going to be on that little park area next to Cisco's, and we'll have a Harbor Patrol will be there, fire department, sheriff, Coast Guard, and they'll be doing demonstrations, you know, things like rescuing people from, you know, jumping out of a helicopter to rescue people, and they'll have a life jacket exchange. And so, you know, if you love boating, this would be a good thing to go to. It's a free event, and people tell me they love it. We have several car shows coming. You know, the Father's Day car shows come in June 15th. That's a really popular one. We also, if you don't want to wait till June 15th, first Sunday of every month over at the Maritime Museum, we have Wheels and Waves. Fireball Tim's a guy who did a lot of cars and coffee events down in Malibu. He's up here now, and so every first Sunday he's over there. You can go check out the cars. 4th of July fireworks show, you know, and we're also going to have, of course, the Electric Boat Parade and the People's Parade. You know, this is going to be another great event. One more one that I wanted to mention about the Maritime Museum. They're going to have a speaker series, you know, to honor the 60th anniversary. And so this one, which is July 17th, they're actually going to be, you know, have people there talking about the birth of the harbor and how this all came about. And something that we brought back because, you know, we've been hearing people loved it, and they had it when the harbor first opened, is the fish fry. And so that should be fun. Work with the local fishermen on that, right? Concerts by the Sea, you know, these are going to be every Saturday from July 12th to August 30th. These have been very popular, and we're trying to find some good bands. We're trying to get like a little mix of decades and generations there, you know, to celebrate the 60th. But something else that we're adding this year that I think is going to be great, we're going to have a concert on the sea. We're going to rent a boat, put a band on it, put it over here near the turning base, and you're going to be able to bring your boats up, listen to some music for a few hours. And Chowderfest is coming back. Yeah, it's September 14th. We're working again with the Maritime Museum to make this happen. But Chowderfest is something that, since like the day I got this job, people have been coming up to me going, why don't we have Chowderfest anymore? So I'm really looking forward to seeing it for myself and enjoying some chowder. Central Coast British Car Club's coming. That's September 19th. We also have the annual Ponies by the Sea car show coming up on October 12th. And our 4th annual Parade of Frights. This is our Halloween-based boat parade, and it's been getting bigger every year. We're learning as we're going, and so we're getting this better. And we had a really good turnout last year. We learned to make it a little later in the day so that they can light up the boats. And so this is a fun event. If you haven't seen it yet, come and check it out. And so to make the whole Halloween thing a little more fun, we're also going to add holiday decorations. We had a few of them this year, but we're going to up it. We're going to up it a little bit. Make the harbor look a little more festive. And we're gonna have a spooky paddle, where you have a stand-up paddleboard or kayak, you can put on a costume. We'll have that earlier in the day and then the parade later in the day. Oh, and of course, our annual food and toy drive. Now I'm gonna have to move over here because I can't see the numbers. But yeah, we've been working with the community on this, and I'm always amazed at how generous this community is. So last year we got 2,640 pounds of food, 1,265 toys, and $23,956. And so it's been a great success for the harbor, and it's really helping the people of Oxnard. So I do thank you and you for the collaboration that we've been doing on this food and toy drive. I think it's been a great thing. And of course, our Parade of Lights. Something that we're bringing back this year because again we had an issue with the person who was giving us the snow, and so we found a new vendor. So we're bringing the snow back this year, and it's actually going to look cooler than this. Before we were just having like a big mound of snow that kids would go stand on, but we found someone that they can make like little tiny hills and stuff, so kids can do some sledding. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And also that day, we're gonna have like a reindeer/Santa paddle where people can come out, their kayaks or paddle boards. We're gonna give out some reindeer ears if people wanna wear them. I thought it would be kind of fun to have like Santa paddle in, maybe with some reindeer people, and then we could have them go over to the snow and meet with the kids. Yeah, so this is all the events. We'll have this on our website if you wanna see it. And so one more thing that Dave asked me to talk about was the California voter card. So yeah, this isn't as much fun as the events, but I just want to make sure you all knew about it. So back in, I think it was 2017, 2018, the state passed a law that you had to get a California voter card, you had to pass a test showing your voter knowledge if you want to operate a power boat or even a sailboat that has a motor on it. And so they slowly amped this up so that, first, it was just people that were like under 25, but on January 1st, 2025, everybody has to have one now, unless you have a captain's license. And so we were doing a little bit of research on this, and you can go on to the Division of Boating and Waterways website, and there are several companies that offer courses. From what I understand, a friend of mine's son took this course. It takes about 2 hours, and they cost between like $25 and $60 to take it. And so you're probably sitting out there wondering, well, so is Harbor Patrol gonna pull me over and like demand my voter card? Well, no, we're not gonna stop people asking for voter cards. It's more like, if someone's flying through the harbor and we stop them, then we would ask for their voter card or their captain's license. So any questions about anything I talked about today? Yes, sir.
About the concerts over here, it'd be nice if they could get some decent stage out there. They're just like sitting on the grass or not much over the grass. If they could get a good stage for the concerts. And also another question, the dock over by Mrs. Olson's over there, it's kind of falling apart and it's splintering. And also, it'd be nice if by the Yolanda's, they got some docks over there so that people can go over there and park their boats.
So I can't do anything about Yolanda's. I can talk to the lessee over at Harbor Landing and tell him to repair his dock. I wasn't aware it was in bad shape, but we can do that. We did build a stage. They're not just standing on plywood like they were when I started here. We did build them a stage, but actually we have a bigger plan that we just haven't shown it to anybody yet. We want to build a concrete stage out there for them to work on and actually install some better electrics for them. So that's part of the plan. Yes, sir.
FYI, in regards to stages, you may want to check with Simi Valley Parks District. They have a mobile stage that they can move from one park to another. It's on a trailer, all utilize It's the whole stage, it's got the power.
Okay.
So check them out.
Yeah, I'll check them out. Yes.
Michael, you mentioned that the Hyatt project is doing like molasses.
That's right.
Why is that, and what's the expected completion date?
Well, I expected it to be completed like this June. It's not going quick. Basically, it's an interest rate thing. Because it's a hotel, you know, if he was trying to build a housing, it's pretty easy to get a good interest rate. But hotels right now, they're looking for like 13% interest rates. And so he's been waiting for the interest rate to go down a little bit. And so all the work that he's done so far, which has been a couple $1 million, they're just paying for it out of pocket.
So it's on hold essentially?
No, we're still making them do stuff. The next thing that they have to do is pay the fees to the city of Oxnard. It's about $400,000, and then we're going to have them redo the plan so that they can get to work on it.
On the note, you're talking about the boaters and what's the status of where the Harbor Patrol patrols? I heard they don't come south of Challenge Harbor anymore.
That's right.
Yes.
Well, I mean, that's a long story, but they used to go up there, and we used to actually have a different headquarters up there, but it was a thing where one community was paying quite a bit for it, and I think another community wasn't paying for it at all, you know, like the 3 neighborhoods up there. And so there was a proposition that came about that said, you know, they didn't want to, you know, we didn't want to have to pay for this anymore, and so when they yeah, I don't know the whole story.
Can I just jump in real quick?
Go ahead.
So I was very involved with it. So there are four communities benefiting from the Harbor Patrol, right? 2 of them were there for a very long time, so they were kind of grandfathered in. They weren't paying anything. Then there was 2 new developments, Westport and then Seabridge. And Seabridge was paying about 5 times the amount that Westport was paying. And the initiative that was put on the ballot was that Seabridge would pay the same thing as Westport. And the director at the time said he couldn't do that and canceled the contract, and then subsequently canceled the Westport contract. So, if I may say, Michael has offered to have a discussion with us if we want to reconsider that. So, that's something we have. So, thank you for offering that.
What else we got? Dave.
Yeah, thank you. 2 comments here and then a question. The first one is very nice series of events coming. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I really do mean that. And
I'm excited about it.
The second comment here is for everyone in this room, and maybe you could say it for the speakers, to go to your website, because I think you do a really good job with your website, and I really wasn't aware of it myself, and when I signed into your email list and I became part of that, you do a really good job of being consistent with your director's messages, and that might be something that the local community isn't really taking that one step to go to the Channel Islands Harbor website, which is excellent, and then signing up for your emails. And I would suggest that you let them.
Sure, yeah, I should have put it on my slide. I'll do that for next time. He's saying go to our websites, channelislandsharbor.org, but if you put in Channel Islands Harbor in Google, you know, it's the first one that comes up, so you can click on that. And to sign up for the director's message and, you know, look at our website, you know, it'll give you a good idea month to month, you know, what's going on out here.
The question I had was to do with the Safe Boating Expo. Is that moved from the Coast Guard down now to down the way?
That's right.
It was on Muir, so it's not at the Coast Guard this year.
No, it's not at the Coast Guard anymore. It's right next to the Harbor Patrol headquarters. It's that little grass area right there.
Very nice, thank you.
Yeah.
So is this the time to ask a question about the status of the walls in the harbor? Is that in your presentation later? Maybe a maintenance, I keep hearing.
The walls north of the harbor, that's not our jurisdiction. So it would be better for someone from the city to give a presentation on that. Yes.
What's the new opening for the hotel?
No, it's gonna take the hotel about 18 months to build. And so they'll have to get their plans approved. I mean, so if everything was going great, it would probably take them 3 months to get new permits done, you know, another 6 months to get them approved, and then 18 months after that.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
We'll be in the home.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you, Michael. It's been a great Thank you, Michael. Our next presentation is by Mr. Chuck Carter. He's going to give us an update on harbor water quality and the latest information.
evening. My name is Chuck Carter. I'm a member of the Marine Advisory Committee, and this afternoon I'll give you an update on the Harbor Water Quality Project. This picture gives you a good overview of Channel Islands Harbor, Edison Canal, and I don't know if my pointer is working, the 2,400 of agricultural land on the left side of the screen, new housing development, no, it's not working.
It doesn't work.
New housing development at Harbor and Fifth, and down in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, you see the decommissioned power plant. When the power plant was running, it pumped up 1.5 billion gallons of water out the north end of the harbor, 55,000 acre feet per year. That's a lot of harbor water. It really kept our harbor clean. When the power plant was shut down in 2018, that circulation stopped. So all of the pollution that is currently running off from the farm fields, from the new development, has only one way to get out to the ocean. That's 4.5 miles south, all the way down to the harbor entrance. So that has created a more stagnant condition in the harbor. Joel, can you do the next? So back in 2018, City Manager Alex Nguyen hired aquatic bioassay consulting because residents were complaining about the water smelled bad, turned brown, and there was a minor fish kill. Aquatic Bioassay Consulting's report is on the city website, and this is a page out of it. They concluded that there was a harmful algal bloom in 2018 that caused low dissolved oxygen, which led to the fish kill. So the water quality objective is 5 milligrams per liter or above for healthy fish. As you can see in the upper right-hand corner, that red represents Sea Bridge. It was down to 2 milligrams per liter. That's where the fish were dying. The scientist also noted that we had a toxic algae species in the harbor at that time.
Good job, John.
And the toxic algae species was Pseudonetia. It's the same toxic algae that is creating domoic acid poisoning for the California sea lions, dolphins, and seabirds up and down the coast. So we don't know if it's in the harbor now, but it is definitely out in the ocean. We're seeing a lot of dead sea lions. This slide shows you where some of the stormwater is coming in, and the area next to Doris Drain and Fifth Street Drain is mostly 2,400 acres of agricultural runoff. Stormwater runoff is affecting the ocean in all the parts of the city. So up in the upper section of the city, River Park and El Rio have already installed filtration devices on their stormwater to reduce the pollution. Down in the lower part of the screen, Cypress and Southwinds have worked with the Ormond Beach Restoration Project. Their water drains into the harbor at Ormond Beach. So the harbor circulation was degraded when the pumps were shut off. The pollutants are not new, but they were masked by the circulation. So once the pumps were shut off, the residence time increased by threefold. So up in Sea Bridge, for instance, the residence time went from 5 days up to 25 days. At the north end of the harbor, the residence time with only coastal tidal flow is 50 days up there. It's very, very polluted. Next slide, please. One of our things that we've discovered through the water testing is the pollution from bacteria affects all of the beaches in Ventura County. We took samples from Mandalay Bay and in Edison Canal, and as you can see, after a rainstorm, we had some really high levels of pollutants. The water quality objective is 104 mpm, most probable number of colony forming units. So the bacteria is bad if it's over a 104. Down at the bottom corner of the screen, it's 9,000, 60 times higher than the level where the water comes in from Channel Islands Boulevard and empties into the Fisherman's Wharf area. So bacteria is really hard to control. It's a big deal. The consultants will recommend the best possible solutions. This screen shows that some of the pollution that we saw in the harbor back in 2018, based on the sampling that Aquatic Bioassay did in 2018, the Water Board has added Mandalay Bay and Edison Canal to the 2024 Integrated Report of Impaired Waterways. This is important because if it's not impaired, the Water Board doesn't have any authority to do anything. We, the Marine Advisory Committee, continued to collect 30 monthly samples between 2021 and 2024, and it confirmed the fact that the water is still polluted, still not meeting the water quality objectives for bacteria, nutrients, pesticides, and low dissolved oxygen. So that data has been uploaded to the California Environmental Data Exchange Network. The Water Board will be able to create total maximum daily load allocations by the next cycle. The TMDLs require that the dischargers are named as responsible parties. They are required to submit their best management practices. What have they done to reduce the pollution? The annual sampling requires them to test 4 times a year, and if they are not meeting their water quality allocation, the Water Board can fine those responsible parties. One of the things that was really important to us, and we talked about it here today, is how important the economic engine is in the harbor. It brings in tourists, residents, and new businesses. The 2021 Economic Impact Report stated that their visitor spending was over $1.5 billion. And Channel Islands Harbor contributed over $100 million of that in direct economic benefit. They also went on to say that the new development with a Hyatt House and Carl's Village will add another 60% to that, add 400 new jobs and $32 million of new employment. So we're looking forward to that. The city of Oxnard hired Craftwater Engineering to create a feasibility study. So now we're getting to what can we do to fix this problem. And so Craftwater has come up with implementation plans for best management practices, BMPs, that have been proven around the state. So there's things like source control, bioswales, retention ponds, non-structural BMPs like street sweeping and putting up signs on the storm drains, upstream structural BMPs like the filtration systems that have been installed in some of our neighborhoods. And finally, the receiving water strategies, which include things like opening up the north end of the canal and recreating the pumping options. That's most effective at improving the circulation and reducing the residence time. It's also the most expensive. Next one. So the current status is Craftwater has produced their preliminary mitigation strategies in January. They're currently conducting sourcing with all of the interested parties, all of the stakeholders. The final mitigation strategy report is due in July, and the implementation plan is due in October. So we're asking for your support when the implementation plans are presented to the City Council by the Oxnard Public Works Department. They're going to recommend the best alternatives based on the criteria in the study. When that happens, we're going to need funding, and we're going to ask you all to contact your City Council member and request support the implementation projects. Next one. As you can see from the stakeholder list, there's a lot of people involved. The Coastal Commission has been talked about a lot, the Farm Bureau, Army Corps of Engineers, city, county, everybody. So it's a big deal. We need your support to get this done. Craftwater is also going to recommend some grant programs. There's NRCS, the Natural Resource Conservation Services, that have specific initiatives and grants for the farmers, for the growers, to meet their water quality objectives and pay their fair share of the mitigation costs. And we're looking forward to your support. I'm happy to answer any questions, or try to. Yes?
You know, opening up the pumps again, up at the north end, you know, you said that's the best, but it's very expensive. What is very expensive? Do you have any idea what it would cost to do that?
It's, so the preliminary plans are not rock solid on the cost, but it's in the $500 million range. So that's why we need, you know, grants. We need funding from, we have.
Those 500 million, that's one thing. And what about the maintenance, you know, the power, everything on the annual basis?
I
That's a big number.
don't have exactly the number on that, but the, you know, the big thing is getting Coastal Commission approval to do some of those things. And we've had some success in other harbors where they have, so Ventura Harbor just did their offshore drilling, $300 million project. It was approved by the Coastal Commission. You know, there's some big numbers out there. Huntington Beach is doing fish-friendly pumps when they shut down their power plants. So, you know, we haven't got all of the details yet, and when we do, we will come back and share them with the community, because, you know, it's going to be a big dollar amount. We think it's important to keep our harbor water clean, to attract tourism, new businesses, and we think it will be beneficial to the city of Oxnard. Yes?
You had mentioned that several entities would be approached to help pay for the repair of the water. Will that include the Navy Department, which basically utilized our lands around here, going back to the 40s, nuclear waste, that there is disposal of nuclear waste?
Well, I can speak to the Farm Bureau. They are responsible for, they're the responsible party for all the stuff in Ventura County that's flowing into Edison Canal. And they're on board. They have this NRCS and Resources Conservation Districts. They're offering incentives and grants. They're willing to do that on their own to pay their fair share. As far as the Army Corps of Engineers and the Navy, we don't have any details on that. And that's exactly what Craftwater is doing right now, is going out and talking to some of those other stakeholders to see what their willingness is to participate.
There's a lot of people like myself that didn't even know that the land here before the harbor was built was a waste dump by the Navy. They used to bring all their fuels out there.
That's news to me. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. We're getting near the end now. So the next speaker up is Dick Elzinga. He's also a member of the Cinc board. He's got a little appeal. Thank you, John. Dick.
Thank you. I'll be brief. Tonight you'll see a little bit of what Cinc has been involved with. Cinc is composed of about 24 men and women who are all volunteers and have done a lot of work towards maintaining the quality of life for the 1,800 homes around the Channel Islands Harbor. They've been involved in everything from water testing to meeting with the Board of Supervisors and the City Council and now the new mayor and the Coastal Commission. And during all of that activity, when we often run into expenses that are not covered by grants and other funding mechanisms. And in the past, we've dug into our pocket to pay for those things. And we're asking for your help. There's a donation jar that Dave is holding. We'd appreciate it if you, when you walked out, you drop a 20 or a 50 into that. That really help pay for some of the incidental expenses that we have. Thanks a million.
Thank you, Jim. So, our next speaker, I think, will be Debbie Mitchell. Debbie's gonna talk to us about the Real Guppies, which is a wonderful thing that her and Renee and others participate in to make a better opportunity for our youth in the area. Debbie?
Another call for money. This May, we're doing, HBCA that's who I'm speaking on behalf of. Renee, get up here. And we're doing a fundraiser for Real Guppies. And how many of you know what Real Guppy Outdoors is? So, how many of you don't? Have never, okay. It's this really cool organization that was started by a guy named Kevin Brannon. And it's over in Fisherman's Wharf next to the urchin docks is where they're located, sort of, and just in Fisher. It's a really old place. Thankfully, Carl's is going to give them, keep them at Fisherman's Wharf. They've got classes that they do to teach about the marine environment and how to keep it safe. They do free fishing for kids, trips. They go out to the pier, they take them out on boats, and you have to have a family member with you, but otherwise it's free. They teach kids how to fix fishing rods and all kinds of things. And the idea is getting kids on the water and teaching them to behave responsibly in that way is like such an important foundation, to have. So every year, HBCA does a May fundraiser, and it's almost May, so you can start now, and it's $40 will sponsor a kid on a fishing trip. And so our goal is to sponsor 150 kids by the end of May. So we're doing a fundraising event at Channel Islands Yacht Club, and we're here tonight, and we're going around and pestering anybody we possibly can to do this. And I want to say that I don't want this to conflict with the donations for Cinc, because of the things going on in our neighborhood, like that's seriously important. And I think that our HOA for Channel Islands Waterfront Homeowners Association, I will take it upon myself for everyone who gives $40 tonight or commits to, that I will beg our HOA and the members there to match that. And if they don't, I will. So if you can put up your hands if you're willing to donate $40 tonight to the Real Guppies, and come and see me. And I'd like to see you too, because I'm on the board of the city. So anybody in Mandalay that doesn't know how to contact somebody about seawalls or things going on in Waterways 1, let me know. But this is, you can scan the QR code, do the $40, come and see me if you donate, so that I can go to our HOA and pester them and to match that to Cinc. Thank you.
And that'll be on the neighborhood website. It'll be on the website. No, let her know.
Yay.
It'll be on the website.
All right,
Yeah, our website.
And if you have something I put on our store window, I'll put on that for you too.
Yay!
Yeah, all right. So thanks to all of our speakers tonight. I just have a few closing comments. First one is, and you may have seen it when you walk in, we are having our neighborhood bulky item drop-off day coming up on the 26th of, that's, I think, Saturday, in 2 days. It'll be from 8 to 2, weather permitting, which I think around here is probably a pretty safe bet. And I volunteered to help out, I think, 2 years ago. And there'll be, I think, 4 bins, probably trucks to bring in the bins. The bins will be for recyclables, electronics, and all organized. And there'll be people to help you unload your car. You'll need to bring, I think, probably your driver's license that has an address that shows that you're in one of these communities, of which Channel Islands Harbor Council is one, and a utility bill or some bill that shows that you actually live there as well. This is what they did before. So that's something that can benefit us. Time to clean out our storage units.
So that's where?
That's, at Oxnard Beach Park. Right, that's right. Yeah, you can walk to it from Mandalay Bay.
It's really named the
Yeah, I know, but I'm sort of wet right city stuff. Yeah, so, thanks for all those that are donating or will donate, we appreciate that. Again, Dave Coker's done a great job with our cineighbors.com, all the latest information out there, links to the county website, links to the city website. I think we even have weather, I'm not sure, there's a lot of great stuff out there. The other ask I would have is, we had a really good turnout tonight, right? It was good because we had some great speakers, and the new mayor. But I think the way we can all, not only in addition to putting money in the jar, we can help improve water quality is get more and more people come to these meetings, so more and more people are aware of it, so that when we have to go to city council or board of supervisors, we'll have a greater showing. And I think that has a big impact on the perception that our elected officials have on us. We had some great presenters tonight, I hope you enjoyed it. And I saved the date for the next meeting, July 24th. Thank you for joining us. Oh, would you like to say something? Yes, please. You can come up if you want. That way you can hear your opponent.
Ladies and gentlemen, I happen to be a councilman here. That doesn't mean anything special, but I happen to have been around since this thing has been going on with the water quality. There's a lot of people here. Just look at your neighbors. The people that are doing the work on this water quality have been doing it for a long time. You need to back them up. I wished our mayor had stayed for the entire presentation. It was a tremendous thing with the strawberries. He had probably had another obligation. But put some money in the dish. They're doing this for you. You can't keep milking the cow. You'll eventually run out. You can't keep putting in the same work on the same people because unfortunately in real life, they drop dead. You need people. This is not funny. You need people to be involved and stay in this. As one councilman and a 7-council-member council with 4 brand-new council members, 4 brand-new council members may not realize the significance of what's going on here. And 4 is the majority on a 7-council vote. So when you're asking for support, and they are basically, I'm sitting here saying, and I look at it, begging. Make sure you show up at some of these council meetings. If you don't want to do it in person, use the phone. Because we get other agencies and other organizations that show up for their own personal social need, which are all good. But there's a lot more people doing that than you guys. It's the same 2, 3, 4, 5 people, no more than a half a dozen people that are busting their ass for you guys. You gotta back them up. It's your choice. I don't live in this neighborhood, but I represent this neighborhood. I'm giving you some advice. Thank you.
Thank you, Bert. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. We'll meet again July 24th. Yay. Thank you.
How are you?
Hi. Sorry, you take Zell?